Since childhood, that PS2 was always present and I played a lot of GTA games, mainly San Andreas. But when GTA 4 came out, I looked forward to the day when I could have a PS3 to play the new GTA. Sporadically, I saw YouTube videos with my cousins, but because I was only 9, I couldn't make things happen and having a PS3 was not an option at the time. When I finally got it, 4 years later, and I was able to play this game, I remember it being 4 am, having the lights off and feeling the heaviness and depth of the story. It's one of those feelings that I know I probably won't feel again in any further game. The introductory scene, driving us home and realizing that Nico's life wasn't going to magically become easy, that dark and foggy environment. When I arrived at Roman's small apartment, it felt so realistic and touching. I noticed the mess right away. You realize that the only women you will see are the ones in the posters randomly placed on the wall, and the big mansion promised by your cousin is in fact a lie. You barely have a bed to sleep. You realize that, after all, life will not suddenly change for the better. Nico doesn't talk much, doesn't laugh, doesn't show many feelings. He's a product of the Yugoslavian war and came to a country that, although apparently more peaceful, in his gut is maybe worse than what he was used to. At the time, I wasn't sure why I worshipped this game so much, but now I understand how this narrative is so realistic. The sad tone and the dark humor make this game more relatable with real life than any other game I've ever played. In addition to all this, the gameplay was a huge improvement compared to other GTAs. Cars' physics are groundbreaking, NPCs can survive serious injuries, leaving the scene holding to wounds, crash details on vehicles are super realistic, things that GTA 5 failed to replicate. Some people criticize the little degree of customization that could be given to Nico and cars, but I think this also aims to maintain the realism of the character, taking some freedom from the player to prevent the Nico's mischaracterization and then misrepresent the whole story. This dark neo-noir style story is very well written, with deep in-game dialogues, and we can't ask for more when it comes to the city. The brownish color palette fits in perfection with the cold rainy Liberty City. If it occasionally snowed, at least on certain missions, it would be perfect. Each cutscene is a way to go really deeper into the story, and this means that the player is less likely to pass the long cutscenes. We all managed to identify games that demonstrate the vibe of the 40s and 50s, like L.A. Noire or Mafia 2, 80s craziness like Vice City, or 90s struggles like San Andreas, but GTA 4 is the first to demonstrate what the 2000s were like. The nostalgia is still very present from the 2000s era. The player can use a simple mobile phone with a low-quality camera, go to cyber cafes to use internet, send emails and messages as a way of communicating, and even the fact that only the most modern cars in-game have a GPS that give voice directions and not just on the map is a very 2000s high-tech type of feature. The soundtrack in this game isn't behind the other GTAs, mixing 2000s New York vibes with the cultural influence that Eastern Europe has on Nico's music tastes. All of these within 18 diverse radio stations. The Soviet Connection theme remains one of my favorites of all time, whether talking about games or movies. It is also interesting that Rockstar was inspired by two Russian movies, Brat 1 and Brat 2, when building the plot of this game. Bellic cousins' relationship is very similar to that of the brothers who star in these movies. A Russian movie with such influence in a game set in America is at least provocative and pioneer. Despite the brutality of Nico's attitudes, he is a fragile man and is often used by people who surround him. The time he spent in the war taught him to be cool about death, and this is what makes him useful and admired by others. The constant phone calls from friends asking to go out, a complex internet web that includes dating sites, comedy clubs with great content, bars. I wonder why some people say that there is not much to do after passing the main story. You also can simply go on a helicopter tour or take a taxi and just sit on the block watching the bustling city from inside the main way of transportation in Liberty City. All of these activities contribute to the sensation that the player really belongs to that world. The feeling we get when playing this game is that we are really experiencing it. We are not just controlling a virtual character or watching a movie. There is no background music in the missions, unlike GTA 5, and this makes the game so immersive. Nico's voice echoes through the abandoned warehouse when he goes to rescue Roman, and this is just one example of the benefits of not having music disturbing the course of the missions. In the end, it all comes down to choosing revenge or greed, two negative feelings that inevitably lead to two tragic ends, depending on the initial choice. There are no happy endings in this game. Although I like GTA 5, I consider it a game more for a young audience, while GTA 4 is a game for adults. With the terrible news that GTA 5 is going to be released again for PlayStation 5, I advise those who haven't played GTA 4 yet to give it a try. Thanks for watching. I'm thinking of starting to also make this type of videos where I
Perhaps
talk about the
here,
games I like.
things
So,
will be
if you
different.
liked, subscribe to watch future episodes.